Friends are a gift from God, aren't they? I mean, I was thinking about that this week. Friends are just like the cherry on top in life sometimes. And we've got family, and that's good. And some of us have spouses, and some of us have kids. But so often it's friends who kind of just top off the fullness of life, isn't it? I was thinking about this the other day because I had a conversation with another adult friend, and we said, the older we get, sometimes the harder it is to make friends. Like when you're kids, it seems so much easier, but you just get busy and life gets complicated and there's all these responsibilities. And too often we can forget just what a gift friends are in life. I love watching my daughter make friends. It's so amazing to watch kids make friends. Have you ever seen that? Like when she's at the park, it's just so quick to make a little friend. You just she'll kind of fall in behind wherever they're running, and then like a minute later, they're just doing whatever it is together. And it's just amazing. The courage, by the way, because I don't think I'd ever walk up to somebody and just make friends so quickly. But children have this instinct that we all kind of forget about sometimes, which is friends are amazing. They are a gift in life. Olivia started school a couple of weeks ago, and those of you with kids, you may know this, that I'm learning that there's this fear as a parent you have every year. As school starts, you say, oh no, is my kid going to make a friend? Or are they going to be the one left out? And every year, and it's like, why do we even doubt? Because every year they make friends, they're going to be just fine. But we just tend to fear that for them. We forget that kids have such confidence that they can just make friends that easily. Friends are a gift. I was thinking about that this week because I'm going to confess to you, I meant to shift from one series to another, and I miscounted my weeks on the calendar, and we ended up with a gap week. So you remember we finished the series, the Mr. Rogers series, the Won't You Be a Neighbor, and got that topped off with a wonderful message last week from Rabbi Cantor on being a people of love. And I meant to shift right into a new series, picking up with the lectionary passages from James about how our faith needs hands and feet in order to be fully expressed in life. But I miscounted my weeks. And I ended up having an odd week out, which was today. And so I thought about it. How can I fill this odd week? And I decided I wanted to share with you what is a deep passion for me for ministry here at Trinity Church. That is the importance of small groups. Now, some of you remember we talked about this a couple of months back. Now, I'm assuming that some of you may not want to admit you may have forgotten some of that sermon. That's okay. Some of you weren't here that Sunday, so I figured let's just talk about it again. Small group ministry is a vital part of a life of discipleship. I shared with you the quote that I just love from Andy Stanley, which is, life transformation happens, Stanley says, in circles, not in rows. Which is to say, worship is an integral part of your life of faith. But it's not the only part of the life of faith you should engage in. There's more to it. Beyond the worship experience, we should all find our way into some group, some tribe, some circle of people. Friends who will love us and care for us. Friends who will be honest with us, like call us out whenever we're not doing something right. But who'll do it in a loving way. Friends who want the very best for us. We all need to be a part of a group. Some of you may have that group already. Some of you are part of small groups that are in existence and thriving here at Trinity Church. And that's wonderful if you are, but I'd be willing to bet there are at least a few of you today who may not have that small group in place. And I want to encourage you that if you don't, whether you realize it or not, it's something we all need in life. I want to do an experiment before we get started this morning. And this may flop, and if it does, oh well. But I want you to be a good sport and try for me, okay? I'm going to give you 1 minute, okay, to turn to someone nearby, not the person in your pew who likely could be a family member, but someone not in your family nearby. And I want you to share 2 things with each other. What's your name? Because some of you are sitting by people you don't know. Why did you come to church this morning? I want you to share that, and I want you to listen to the other person's response. And if 3 of you need to group up, that's okay too, or 4 even, that's okay. All right, everyone, go. 30 seconds. Ten seconds. And time. Let's get back to our seats. Let's make our way back to our seats, wrap up those conversations. Everybody back to your seats. I have a few more things I want to say. Let me tell you, first of all, how fun that was, because I watch you, whether you realize it or not, I watch you pass the peace. And for many of you, you just talked to someone you didn't talk to during the passing of the peace. So I just pushed you out of your comfort zone to talk to someone that you may have come in, worshiped, and left having never spoken to today. That was pretty cool to see. So how did that feel? I mean, it's kind of neat to meet somebody new, right? For a lot of you, especially, there's a couple of you here who are visiting from out of town. I thought maybe that was I hope you felt the warm embrace of a church, that really cared that you were here. That's kind of cool. For some of you, you've been visiting here for a little while, and I hope maybe you met someone new. Some of you have been here for a while, and I hope you got to meet somebody new too. Was it awkward at all? A little awkward? Some of you maybe, some of you not so much. I know a few of you in this room are good talkers. You could just about talk to that column next to you if you needed to. But for some of you, if you're an introvert especially, it might have been a little awkward to, cross that threshold to introduce yourself and to share something even as simple yet as deep as, why did you come to church this morning? That could be a very deep thing to share. This is the essence of small group ministry, what you just did. So much of worship is spent on an individual level, which is very important. You sing, you respond, you pray, you say amen, whatever it is. You listen. But in small groups, this is why life transformation happens in circles, not in rows, because you cross this level of communication and camaraderie and relationship that says, here's my story. Let me hear yours. Brené Brown says that true belonging is not changing who you are, it's being exactly who you are. And that's risky. We don't realize it because so much of our lives we kind of tweak and change who we are because we want others to think we're the best version of ourselves, right? We don't want people to know the junk in our lives. We don't want people to see the chinks in our armor. We don't want people to know the brokenness that is in all of us. But yet we walk around thinking ours is somehow worse or unique from everyone else's. But to truly belong, especially in a group, is not to change who you are, it's to be who you are. And that's risky. It takes investment. It takes time. This is why small group ministry matters, because it's not a one-time thing you do. It's something that you say, I'm going to commit to a relationship with this group of people every week or every month or however it is, and we're going to set a time frame that's pretty long to say we're going to make this a part of our life. Because belonging to a group matters. It can impact our life. It can change our lives. I've seen it happen, by the way. If you're skeptical right now, I've seen it happen even in this church. I have seen small groups surround individuals who are going through some of the toughest times in life, family issues, grief, job loss, whatever it may be. But people who come alongside you in the worst moments of life and who help pick you up and who love you and who remind you that you're not alone. And in that moment, when you feel so desperate and alone, that person is the face of Christ. I've seen it. It's pretty powerful. One of our small groups that I have a particular investment in because my wife's in is our Band of Mothers. This is such a cool group. I accidentally walked in on this group. I was coming back from a meeting and I interrupted their meeting the other night. And a couple of things really jumped out to me. One is, not everybody in that small group, say 3 years ago, was invested and attending church weekly and invested in a small group. And in the last 2 or 3 years, all these moms are coming to church just about every Sunday. And they're invested in volunteering for our children's ministry. A couple of them are upstairs now filling in because Emily's at an orientation for a mission trip and they're covering for her today. And these moms care about each other. They meet once a month, but they talk regularly, sharing prayer concerns, sharing the stresses, sharing the joys, the ups, the downs of being a mom. It's pretty cool. I love watching that one. There's another small group that I've just loved watching grow. And they gather around something as simple as studying the upper room devotionals. And then, they read them all week, and then they gather on Sundays, and they just, what'd you think this week? Simple as that. It's not really a teaching so much as it is a sharing. Like, what are your thoughts from it? What are mine? And let's listen to each other. And what's so neat about it is two things. One, it is an incredibly diverse group that I'm not sure that all of those people in that group would self-select to just be in a group with that group otherwise if it were not in this kind of setting. But they're diverse, and it's neat. And in that diversity, they hear each other's stories, and they hear each other's reflections, and they're reminded that the journey of faith is something that we are meant to do together. And that's pretty cool too. Small groups can impact your life in a big way. And so I want to throw out a challenge today, and I want you to be thinking about this. And here's the challenge. I would like to see this fall, it's fall, I know it's hot as blue blazes outside, but we got to be looking towards fall. This is the traditional time of the year that the church kicks off new things. So here's the challenge. I'd like to see 2 or 3 new small groups start this fall. Now, one caveat to that. I want to be very specific about how I want small groups to form. So often the church has traditionally done it where it's curriculum-based small groups, where you say, let's get together and study, X, or let's get together and study Y. And that can certainly be a part of the small group experience. But I want to move beyond to something deeper than just what we study, which is an intellectual journey. I want to be more about community-based small groups, which is how do we form community with each other? Now, we may study something, but you know what? We may do a mission project together, or we may share the stresses of life. It's more than just studying a book, although that could be part of it. A community-based small group says, I'm going to commit myself to this group. You are going to become my tribe, the people who care for me, the people who lift me up. Now, again, some of us may already have that in our life, and if you do, that's amazing. What a gift it is. But for some of us, we don't. We don't. And maybe we're searching. And so here are the challenges individually that I want you to think about and pray about and maybe contact me about. 1, do you feel God is calling you to be a part of a small group? Do you feel God may be calling you? Do you feel like this is the season of your life where you have felt, let's be honest, life can be lonely sometimes. We can be so busy and yet so lonely all at once. Do you feel God is calling you to join a small group? And here's the second question. Do you feel God is calling you to host or facilitate a small group? Remember, it's not curriculum-based. You don't have to be a teacher. You just need to be someone who cares about organizing people. And from there, the group can decide whatever it wants to do. The cool thing about community-based small groups is this. They can form in any number of settings. They're not a Sunday school per se, although they could be. You don't have to come to the church building in a community-based small group. You could meet at a restaurant. You could have a supper club. You could meet at a coffee shop. You could meet in someone's home. You could meet around an activity that all of you share a common interest, and you decide to do that together, and in doing that, you share rich conversation with each other about your lives and about your faith. Community-based small groups open up the idea of what being community is all about. It's about what small groups are all about. So if you feel led to join a small group, I want you to tell me, text me, email me, whatever it is, call me. And if you feel like you might even want to host or facilitate or be the point person for a new small group, I want you to let me know that. I want you to pray about that. Luke's gospel has this amazing story. So often we get lost in the whole Jesus versus the Pharisees, argument that happens. But in the background of this story, did you see what happened? A guy who was paralyzed, who otherwise should have been an outcast, could have been left by the side of the road with all the other folks with physical disabilities and whatnot in Jesus' day. But this guy had some friends. And these friends were determined to bring him to Jesus. And the crowds were big, but that didn't stop his friends, because they were going to stop at nothing short of bringing this guy to Jesus. They even climbed on the roof. How rude is that? Opening it up, lowering their friend. They loved him that much. I'll pay for the roof later, they may tell the homeowner. Our friend needs Jesus. And the first response he gives before that whole quarrel with the Pharisees, Luke tells us he saw their faith and he healed them. That man was saved by his friends. The good news is that every one of us deserves friends who will love us, who will be honest with us. That's loving us enough that they love us right where we are, but they're not going to let us stay right where we are. Friends who know that there's more to life, that we can always grow, we can always be more who God made us to be. This paralyzed man's friends knew that there was more to his life beyond paralysis, and they were determined to get him there. Every one of us deserves friends like that in our life. Every one of us is called to be a friend like that to somebody else. Every one of us deserves a tribe. None of us deserve to feel lonely. God made us for community. So maybe my final question is this: how can we help you find that life-changing group? Amen. Hey, thanks for watching the latest sermon here at Historic Trinity Church in Savannah, Georgia. I'm Reverend Ben Gosden. I'm the senior pastor here at Trinity Church. And I want to take this opportunity to invite you. If you're ever in Savannah, Georgia, we would love for you to visit us on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. We're located on Telfair Square, been here since 1848. Also, you can check out the comments below for a way to give if you feel so led. Again, you're welcome anytime here at Trinity Church.